Hello, I'm Pony Lawson. I grew up in northwest Indiana in a tiny little town called Knox, Indiana. It had a population of about 3,000. It was kind of like a very sheltered town. There wasn't a lot going on, so I just never thought I was going to get out of that town. I kind of thought I was trapped there. During my freshman year, I started getting to a lot of fights with, not because of my own accord, but because like other people would want to jump me, or I would just get into a fight for no random reason. I wouldn't think I was a little guy. I actually wrestled in high school at, I think, 145, so.
Was tattooing your way to get out?
Yeah, it definitely allowed me to get out. I was still tattooing in Knox, but it was just tattooing out of my friend's house or in their garage, not doing what I was supposed to do. I never tattooed in a tattoo shop in Knox, but I made it to LaPorte, and I finally made it to a tattoo shop. But LaPorte wasn't, that much better than Knox. It was slightly bigger, but you're still in Indiana. Again, I never really had any dreams of getting out of Knox or getting out of Indiana very far, until I went through kind of a bad breakup and I went to go hang out with my buddy in Chicago. And I had already packed up all of my tattoo supplies, and I was kind of doing tattoo parties at all my friends' houses because I was just trying to make a living at that point. I was in between jobs, and I had just gone through this breakup, so it just felt right for me to kind of bounce around from friends to friends and just tattooing all my buddies. I decided to go to Chicago one day and visit my friend Max, who worked at my friend Gary's shop, my now friend Gary's shop. I went over there and hung out, and like I said, I had all my stuff with me. I had my portfolio and everything I needed to tattoo, so Gary offered me a job. He went through my portfolio, he saw the work that I was putting out, and he offered me a job on the spot. I originally wanted to kind of make it out to California. I was like, I'm gonna go out west and be one of those, surfer boys or something. I didn't really want to be a surfer boy, but I wanted to go out to LA because I thought that's where everything was happening, So I was gonna go out there. I made a quick stop in Chicago at my friend's shop. Ended up snagging a temporary job, and I slept in my car across the street in the alley for a couple weeks until I ended up finagling this room inside of this 3-bedroom unit, which I shared. I think I paid $500 a month for. The shop was in Old Town in Chicago, back in Chicago, at Division and Wells, so it's a really hot, great spot, one of the best spots. I think you could manage to open up a shop over there. We did a lot of crazy things over at that first shop. There were a couple trees in front of the shop that we ended up gorilla taping a lot of dollar bills to. We went down the street and recruited a few people to come earn the money out of the tree, right? They wanted the dollars. So they could get it, and we just had a set of rules. They couldn't bend the limbs or anything like that. They had to climb up and physically get the dollar bills out of the tree. But it was gorilla taped, so a lot of times the bills would rip in half, and they just, I don't know, they were getting more upset than anything. But it was, it was funny. We taped a $10 bill up to the sign that was like 15 feet up. So you had these people like climbing on top of each other's shoulders trying to get the money down. This kid who worked there, he climbed up in that same tree, and he had a squirt gun, and he squirted this kid who was walking by, and the kid turned around and he thought that this kid, Matt, who worked there as a piercer, spit on him. So he said, "Did you spit on me?" And Matt said, "No, I didn't spit on you." And then he ended up drop kicking Matt into the window. So we all ran outside of the shop and we're chasing this guy down because we're like, "Hey, what the fuck did you do that for?" All the while, Max is still up in the tree with his squirt gun, like trying to be quiet. And the cop pulls up on the curb. They say, "Hey, we see everything that went down. You guys go back to the shop. We'll take care of this." Maybe 2 days later, Max is up in the tree again with some water balloons. He doesn't learn. And he throws the water balloon at this taxi, and the taxi driver gets out, and he's this 8-foot tall Russian guy. He's like, my son is your height. I fucking kill him. I was like, oh my God, this guy is threatening. And so like somebody had to come out to the shop and Max is a small guy. He's very small. So you have this very large Russian dude intimidating Max, and Max was like just giggling. So this guy had to come out and be like, "Listen, don't hurt Max. He didn't mean it. He's just being dumb." But there was always some sort of fun stuff going around there, because if you're familiar with Clark and Division area, if anybody's familiar with Clark and Division area, 10 years ago, that was a very fun spot to be at night. I suppose I started tattooing a new school style because that's kind of what naturally came out. And at the shop I was at, it was a walk-in shop, like every shop was back in the day. There was no such thing as a private studio or an appointment-only studio. Everything was pretty much walk-in. So I had naturally just kind of gravitated towards new school. I saw a lot of Tony Savaro flash, and a lot of the flash on the wall was new school flash. Jeff Bartles and David Bolt, a lot of those like bold line, bright colored stuff. And like I said, Tony Savaro, I saw his stuff and kind of fell in love because at the time, nobody was putting out stuff like that. So when anybody wanted like a butterfly, obviously we couldn't really look it up on the internet because it didn't exist. I kind of just drew what I thought would be, a fun-looking butterfly, which was always new school. I still do it from time to time. I just don't post it a whole lot because then I'm just gonna, first of all, I feel like it's not what my audience generally seeks out, so it doesn't get a lot of attention. So it kind of just gets left in the dust. I should post it anyway. I enjoy doing it, but But I like those big glows, you know, like those background blues and stuff like that to really kind of give some shape to a tattoo.
Do you miss doing cartoony stuff?
Yeah, I do. I actually would like to get into more big scale Nintendo style tattoos, you know, with big lines, basic color schemes, you know, dark pink to light pink, things like that. Nothing too complicated because colored realism portraits, that shit drives me crazy. I'm not a huge fan of doing that anymore. It's more of a headache than having fun. Whereas if I were to do Nintendo stuff or things that I grew up with, I feel like I can jive with that a bit more, and I think it would be really cool and I could make some good stuff happen. I recently went and bought a brand new sketchbook again, a bunch of new pencils, and started going to town, making a bunch of new art. I think what I miss most about new school style tattoos or drawing a lot of my own things ahead of time, not using an iPad, is the when you're actually tattooing it, not having to look off of a reference, you know, like being able to create whatever you want at the time. You know, that's your headspace is 100% in the tattoo in front of you. Whereas when you're doing realism, I think I excel in realism okay. I think I'm decent at it because I know some anatomy and the things behind what makes realism work. But I think I do it because I'm good at it. What I would like to enjoy, what I would like to do and enjoy more would probably be more bold, bright, colorful, new school tattoos. Or even neo-traditional, because I was just having this conversation yesterday. Neo-traditional tattoo artists are probably some of the most badass tattoo artists out there, period, because they are the ones that are creating full sleeves out of their imagination. You know, they can use some references, of course, but like they are the true tattooers, you know, of our time, and they will be forever. And that stuff stands the test of time. It's bold, and you can turn anything into that style. New school can be a little bit more like cartoony, whereas the neo-traditional style is a little bit more grounded in, I don't know what you'd call that, like, obviously not realism, but it just seems to be a bit less cartoony.
Would you have done it the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I did a lot of shit wrong, and you know, I was tattooing out of the house for like 2, maybe 3 years before I ever got in a shop. So that's years of mistakes and things that I learned what not to do. And I think that also helped to build me a good foundation. Instead of just having a teacher that shows you only the right way to do things or only a way that'll work, you're kind of missing out on a lot. You know, I think you don't understand why a lot of things don't work or why they blow out or why they scar. You know, when you're scarring somebody, you remember what you were doing, so you just kind of, I don't know, it's all a learning experience. So I wouldn't change anything to this day, no way. I started with tattoo parties. I started tattooing out of the house. So again, it's not something that I would suggest anybody does. Obviously, any tattooer in their right mind is going to tell you to get an apprenticeship for good reason. But it's hard for me to say to go get an apprenticeship when I went through it that route. There are just things that you are unaware of, and again, I don't want that to be a valid reason for anybody to go start tattooing out of their house, or even hand poking for that matter, because you can pass diseases very easily, so you definitely don't want to do that. It's just, like I said, it's something that was part of my past, that's my roots, so I can't bash it.